Hey everyone, Phi Farley here. It's week 11, college football season. I got a best bet coming to you. I'm going to pitch my 2 cents on top 25 games as well. I'll pick and choose. We got some really good ones going into this weekend, so I'm going to throw 2 cents out there on those. And be sure you check out NFL Best Bet as well. And we'll get a move on. Coming off a winning weekend in college football. Nice weekend last week. Matter of fact, last week was one of those weekends I wish I could just capture and I hope repeat this weekend because I could not miss. I mean, there's probably a miss in there, but for the most part, I could not miss last weekend, and it was great, and took some profit there, of which gave back a little bit on Sunday. Unfortunately, that was my worst Sunday of the season. It wasn't terrible. Won my best bet on the Ravens, but ended up not up on the day, which was disappointing. But Saturday was, and split this week. Won on Kent State earlier, lost on South Florida, so split 1-1. But looking forward to this Saturday because we got some good games. So let's talk about this a little bit. So we got Penn State undefeated going to Minnesota. This one's really interesting right now. Tickets are split about 50-50. However, there is about 70% of the money going in on Minnesota. This line opened up 7 down to 6.5 at pretty much every book out there. So I'm a huge fan of PJ Fleck, and without going too far into this one, I don't want to break it down too much. I just want to give my 2 cents on which side. I'm going with the home team here with the 6.5. I think that's going to be huge. I think these guys are going to be amped up. I think there's a lot of motivation for a team that is undefeated yet sitting at 17th. And meanwhile, undefeated 8-0 Penn State sitting at 4. There's an obvious perspective of Minnesota that, really, I think the best is yet to come for Minnesota. I think their trajectory is up, and so may not come to fruition this season. I don't think that's going to be, they're not going to end undefeated. But PJ Fleck, we saw what he did at Western Michigan, where he took that team in a short period of time. Now look at the Golden Gophers doing the same thing. I'm going to take him in this one, though, with the 6.5. That's not my best bet. That's just chiming in on that one. Also, of course, we're going to talk about LSU, Alabama. This is a really interesting side. Line opened at 6.5 as well. Has been bet down. A lot of money coming in on the LSU side. A little bit sharper side, also a public side, to take the number 2 team on the road in Alabama. Of course, both teams 8-0. Bama has won this matchup here for the last, 6 seasons. They've won every one of the matchups. This year's a little interesting. We've never had a line open up at 65, 64, that high with these two teams. A lot of defense over the last decade between LSU and Alabama, and moreover in the SEC. But this year we got more offense coming to town. I'm going to look again to the dog here on this one. I really believe in Joe Burrow. I'm not sure what Tua is going to bring to the table coming off his injury. He may actually be limited in his play, in his mobility. So I do like the X factor in taking LSU overall. Alabama's defense has been not as good as years past. Their schedule has been light this year. LSU a little more tested. So all things told, I'm going to play it a little safer, grab the points with LSU to be able to pull that one out. You can see a lot of the confidence coming through in that one. I've gone back and forth on which side I like. It's really, really difficult to go against Alabama, especially when we're talking about less than a touchdown. So next up that I want to chime in on real quick, another top 25 battle is going to be Iowa, Wisconsin. Once again, I'm grabbing points. I'm going with Iowa here, 9.5. Some books open up at 10.5, down to 9.5 and 9. So I would grab the 9 or 9.5. I like 9.5 better than 9, of course. But we're going to have a good defensive battle here in Wisconsin, knowing that over 70% of lines that start at 39 or less in college football end up cashing on the under. So here we have 38 across the board. Take a look at that. If there's a way to go, it's going to be under. Be careful on an over. Again, you're going against history there. If you do want to take the over, that's just some food for thought. That was, by the way, that stat came from Ralph Michaels. If you don't listen to him, check it out. Follow him on Twitter. He's got some good info. So Iowa going on the road to Wisconsin. Like I mentioned, I'm going to grab the points here. I do think Iowa has the stuff to pull off an upset here. Wisconsin's defense has been good, but then when push comes to shove and the competition gets tougher, they have folded a little bit. So I'm going to go with that Iowa side to get the job done. They've surprised me this year, too. There's games that they end up outperforming the market. And, and all things told, that's where I'm going to go is with that 9.5 with Iowa. All right, so let's talk about my best bet of the weekend. I'm going to go with a game at, what time? I think it's at 4 o'clock Pacific. Yeah, 4 o'clock Pacific in the afternoon. We're going with a non-conference game, South Carolina hosting Appalachian State. So this game, you know that South Carolina is going to have to get up for this one. They need 2 wins to be bowl eligible. Right now they're 4-5. They got to get 2 wins. They got 3 games left to do it in. They got Appalachian State. They got Texas A&M, and they have Clemson. They do not want to come down to that Clemson game and still need 1 more win because it's probably not going to happen against Clemson in that matchup. So here we get Appalachian State. This is a must-win game for South Carolina. Back against the wall, have to win it. South Carolina, if we just look at rankings on teamrankings.com, you're going to see they're about 1.5 points better. Home field advantage puts it up 3.5. We'll say they're 5 points better at home. Now we kick in motivation here. They have to win this game. Then they're going to have a tough task at Texas A&M, but I'd rather isolate that game after this one's done. First things first, they have to win this game against Appalachian State. Now, I would say they could overlook Appalachian State and kind of coast through this one, pull out a win, but Appalachian State was just ranked in the top 25. It's no surprise they're a quality team. They're not going to be surprised by this one, and Appalachian State has done a pretty good job against the schedule they have put in front of them. In fact, if there is a common opponent between these two teams, that's at North Carolina. Appalachian State goes in, wins by 3. Meanwhile, South Carolina opened the season against North Carolina at home, and they dropped the game by 4 to North Carolina. So that's why I feel like the line is pulled down a little bit because of that. We're getting a little bit of value here on the Gamecocks at 6 at this point. So not only is it a very important game to South Carolina, but Appalachian State is an inferior opponent playing in the Sun Belt Conference. And what do they have up next? They have Georgia State. So they just came off a loss to Georgia Southern, ruining their undefeated season. Now they go to South Carolina, a non-divisional game that doesn't really matter. And right up on deck is number 2 in their conference, Georgia State. Winner of that game is going to be at the head of the east of the Sun Belt, which is huge considering they already lost to Georgia Southern, who's next behind Georgia State. So this is a really overlooked game for Appalachian State more than anything. It's not going to be for South Carolina. They have this game circled. They have to win. So I'm looking for them to cover the 6, not only get that win, but cover the 6 at home, smash them, get them out of there. Appalachian State doesn't even care. They are already bowl eligible. They want to win their conference, and that's going to take them beating Georgia State the following weekend. So I'm going to take South Carolina in a good spot here, laying the 6. Good luck, everyone, this weekend. Hope you're profitable. Check out the NFL Best Bet. And also, don't forget my picks over on patreon.com/Phi Farley. All right. Take care. See you again soon.